Thank you for joining us in this concluding session of the Stanford Neurodiversity Summit. In the next hour and a half or so, we're going to do three things. First thing is we are going to summarize all the sessions, and there are moderators that have submitted their slides. So for moderators, when you see your slides, please just jump on it and speak. The moderators have not seen the order of the slides, so this is a little bit challenging for all of us, but we'll see how it goes. The second part, which will start probably around 5:30 or so, will be the questions. Maybe there may be some responses, but mostly we really want to hear your comments about the conference. And then after all of that, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and for the moderators, we'll take pictures first. So stay as a panelist if at all possible. I'll give you some instructions how to get in if you are an attendee at this time. We will use the function of raise hand so we can try to find you a little bit easier so that we can promote you back to the panelists. So we have moderators first, and then after that we'll have speakers. And then after that, we may be able to take pictures with the attendees as well. The way it works is that we can make 100 panelists at maximum. So we may not be able to take everyone, but it's going to be close. We have 119 participants right now, so it may be possible. So with this, I'm going to start. Let's see, right here. This is our collage for our speakers and moderators. In this conference, we have 5 days of materials. We have over 90 moderators plus speakers. We have somewhere around 50 hours of material. So we're going to compress this into 1 hour, and I have organized them into several sections. The first, we have neurodiversity success stories. The first speaker was Liliana Mayo. Dr. Mayo had been having a very distinguished career in helping autistic individuals to find work, and they even support their families. I am not going to read all of these summary slides for the sake of time, but basically what she has shown us is a very compelling story that people on the spectrum, even with intellectual disabilities, in Peru, she has been successful in getting them jobs and getting businesses to believe that they are actually good workers, because here is one of her quote: "They don't gossip, they ask for more work, and they are loyal to the business where they work." So because of that, some of these workers, they actually support their families in a very significant way. So I wonder if in our country we are going to be able to do that. We're definitely behind Peru on this particular aspect. I'm going to move on to Sienna Castellan, who is the keynote speaker for this morning. She's just a very amazing young lady who is so passionate about neurodiversity, and she's so effective in bringing people together, neurodiverse as well as neurotypical together. In the last couple of years, she has built this neurodiversity celebration week in such a fashion that it's becoming a really large phenomenon. Um, this year, she has attracted about 500,000 students, K through 12 students all around the world to celebrate Neurodiversity Celebration Week with her. And I have already mentioned many times that Sienna had also been acknowledged like numerous times. Um, and in the next couple of years, she is going to have a very important role because she was selected as one of the 17 young leaders by the United Nations. And she basically has the task of really advocating for neurodiversity. So good for us because of her efficacy. Other inspirations, we have Valerie Paradis, who is playing multiple roles. She is an autistic advocate herself. She is a mom of an autistic son, as well as the vice president of Autism Speaks. This is her son. She called him Mr. Inevitable. And she has really tried so hard over the years with a lot of obstacles to get Mr. Inevitable to be able to be very successful. And now Dr. Paradis' son, Mr. Inevitable, actually works as a radio host, radio show host. And a lot of what he's doing is just plain remarkable. On the other side of the things for her is to actually do program development for the autistic community or the autism community. So one of the major things is about workplace inclusion. And she has spent a lot of time talking about how to actually create more opportunities. Very much in alignment with our conference's theme. And then there are some new perspectives in the field of neurodiversity. Judy Singer, who coined the term neurodiversity, asked the question, how far can we have come and how far can we go? And she reminded us about the new social movement based on neurological diversity, and also the concept of commodification, both in a positive sense and on a negative sense. So there's a lot for us to think about. We are all thinking about how we are going to do good with neurodiversity, and we just also want to not be blindsided that there may be, because human nature can be in the way, there could be some things that we have to be aware of. And then Dr. Nancy Doyle from Genius Within, she is the CEO. She gave a keynote presentation on Sunday titled Beyond Tokenism and Towards a Neurodiverse Norm. She basically brought the term neurominorities in. So in addition to neurodiversity, we have this new term. Is not so new for her because she has been using this for at least a couple of years. But for most people, this is a new term to think about another way of describing a whole population with various different differences in brain function and behavior. And she started talking about the intersection between neurodiversity, gender diversity, as well as racial diversity that's going to be amplified by other sessions. So she concluded by saying inclusion is a moral, social, and economic imperative. We all lose when human potential is squandered. And then we have the nuts and bolts of starting neurodiversity at work programs. Dr. Hala Anabi gave a brilliant presentation on how to enable scaling of autism at work initiatives. And in her book, Autism at Work Playbook, she very logically guide businesses on asking the right questions, such as why are we doing this? And there are some sub questions, as you can see, that you need to answer. Who can help? How do we make the business case? And where do we start? What does success look like? So all of these questions are very important questions that businesses really have to answer before they can wisely start a program. And she's also posed to us that the success of these programs are really mission driven. And mainly is because the organization is committed to inclusion and access. And the mission is aligned with the Autism at Work strategic goals. And also the employee centric culture is what they need, what the companies would need in order to make the company able to sustain the neurodiversity at work program. So I'm going to skip this slide. And then we have a few different sessions. This session is with the employers. Here's the representatives of this particular panel: Bill Morris, Rebecca Beam, Kathleen Foley Hughes, Nish Parikh, Harish Bigmal, and Anne. Sorry, I remember Anne. I'm blanking on her last name. So they did the first session on employers' perspective on neurodiversity at work initiatives and have answered a lot of questions from the audience. And then we have the five, probably arguably they are some of the most experienced executives that have led the Autism at Work or Neurodiversity at Work like initiatives. So we have Anthony Posilio from JP Morgan Chase, Jose Velasco probably have started a lot of the initiative first in SAP together with his colleagues. Hiren Shukla from Ernst & Young, Neil Barnett from Microsoft, and Michael Fieldhouse from DXC Technology. They have really answered so many really tough questions that I think we have a lot of food for thought, and we are going to be able to think about how to scale programs. If anything, we need to scale programs in large companies and start making the small companies able to start their own programs. And then we have the perspectives from employees that are on the autism spectrum: Bill Lyman, Ron Sanderson, Marcel Champi, Tom Moloney, and David Hall. And then we have Wes Strickland, Patrick Phelan, Haley Moss, Selena Sparks, Andrew Kumaro, Magnus Higamak, and Sridhar Sanabat. They talked this morning, and really collectively they have really set a really high bar for us, and really get us to help the neurodiverse community to really be able to help in the leadership positions and drive the neurodiversity at work initiative. And then Marcel Champy, uh, Marcel, since you're on the call, if you want to give like a minute summary, please do. Or someone has to unmute, I think.
Hi, that's a funny picture, a freeze frame picture. Yeah, I spoke today on job tips for job seekers and employees on the spectrum and neurodivergence in general, pretty much for anyone really. And we talked about I talked about some issues that normally don't come up with job tips, such as making sure that you have your anxiety in check and you have support, a support team, a mentor. Talked about ways to network as a neurodivergent individual and how that's harder for us, and a lot of different things I threw in there related to my extensive research in the topic.
Thank you, Marcel. And then Mark, the next couple of slides are yours.
Thank you. So our objective for this session was to empower small business owners and managers on initiating neurodiversity at work initiative in their companies. We also have the speaker representing their organization that help individuals to find meaningful employment, and among other programs. Some of the speakers were Dr. Lawrence Funk. He talked about neurodiversity at work initiatives. We had Stephanie Dignam. She talked about creating low-risk partnership to increase inclusion. We had Brandon Anderson talk about supporting for small businesses, neurodiverse individuals, and the public workforce system. We also had Jerry Datillo talking about employment services and job coaching within his organization. And we also had Dr. Fung talk about strength-based model of neurodiversity to support small businesses. Some of the things that I wanted to point out, for if you're an employer, there are many reasons why small businesses should hire neurodiverse job seekers. We have organizations all over the Bay Area, all over the United States that help place individuals who are neurodiverse. There are job developers and or employment consultant, whatever they're called. They help you to match a perfect candidate for the positions that you're hiring for. Once you get someone hired, you will have a job coach that will help to make sure that the process is positive and the person is learning their job skills and your coworkers are happy and everything is going smoothly. And there are many programs that support that. And at the end, you'll have a reliable, hardworking employee. So if you are a employer and you are interested to hire neurodiverse job candidates, I invite you to go into our website, Neurodiversity at Work program, and email us, and we'll start the process, and we'll go through the process. So I hope if you have missed those, if you missed that session, please go ahead and go out to YouTube and listen to that session again and take notes, and hopefully we can see you soon. Thank you. The next session is called Putting PIP to Work. The objective for this session was to understand the background of paid internship program, also known as the PIP, in terms of its role in past, current, and future economy. Also, our objective was for the regional center clients and their families to learn about how to utilize the PIP opportunities to reach long-term objectives. Our third objective was service. It was for the service providers and regional center employers will integrate PIP in their client long-term employment plans. Some of the speakers were Stephanie Dignam. She talked about fitting PIP into your employment plan. We had Sean Galvin and Kristen Bates. and they were from the regional center, and they were talking about competitive integrated employment and paid internship program. And we had Chris Lindholm, who was a parent, and she talked about her own experience with her son, how PIP was a successful program. And then our final speaker was Michael Bernick, and he discussed about how to develop a PIP. So again, if you are a service provider or a job seeker, I encourage you to listen to this session again and learn about PIP and learn about the integrated employment, competitive integrated employment. It's very useful and it helps job seekers to learn about a job if they don't feel comfortable working. Next slide, please. So some of the things I want to point out is regional center, talk to your providers, talk to the families, talk to the job seekers, talk more about the PIP. Providers, talk to the families and the job seekers about PIP. And of course, job seekers and families, talk to your regional center, service coordinator, or the service providers that you're working with and ask them about the PIP as well. Not everybody knows about this, but now you do, and advocate for yourself and get the job that you want to get. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. One of the major themes in this conference is to start really exercising everything we can to practice strength-based model, and especially strength-based model of neurodiversity. Dr. Michael Meyer arguably is the father of self-determination. He has done work to really articulate exactly what self-determination is, and have produced assessments and treatments that are strength-based. And also what Dr. Meyer was talking about in a great length is how this strategy can really help us to get us to help neurodiverse individuals to get dignity out of the work. So what he was giving an example of is that there are various different projects that he has been involved in, and the commonality is that he's using the strength-based approach to support all people to live, learn, work, and play in the communities. And also this way, you are basically exploring how issues of self-determination are central to achieving the objectives. And then Dr. Hecky Reitman was the speaker yesterday, our keynote speaker yesterday. He was also talking about basically a strength-based model. So the title of the talk is Maximizing Neurodiverse Potential. He gave an introduction into neurodiversity advocacy, and he told us what the tools are available for recognizing strengths and maximizing the potential of neurodiverse individuals. And some of the things that he has built, like the company that he owns, Different Brains, mentor young adults and help them along their paths towards finding a career and training them to become the next generation of neurodiversity self-advocates. He also gave a lot of good tips for parents and employers to better support anyone with a different brain. And then we have the mental health in the workplace section. The first section, we had Michael Fieldhouse, Quinn Nguyen, Carolyn Grants, and Janet Miller, and Christy Mada to present, and Janie Hong and I moderated. So basically, they reviewed, mainly Michael Fieldhouse reviewed the gravity of the mental health challenges for neurodiverse individuals in the workplace. He's talking about DXC technology mainly, and he's got a lot of data on mental health in the workplace. We also have Carolyn Grants that talk about peers for careers, and Christy Mada and Janet Miller talking about the NEST program, which are novel mental health interventions in the workplace. They talk about how to differentiate between deficit-based assessments versus strength-based assessments, and also distinguish between deficit-based treatments and strength-based treatments. Dr. Quinn Nguyen also talked about wellness and self-care in remote work in light of pandemic. And then last night, we have another mental health session. Janie Hong, Greg Yates, and I presented. Quinn and Janet moderated. And Greg talked about meditative practice in autism. And I talked about strength-based assessments and neurodiversity. And Janie talked about finding strength, skills, and resilience, what clients learn in CBT. So basically, what we believe is that we can disseminate the strength-based model of neurodiversity widely. And we believe that we can train providers in strength-based assessments and positive psychology. And for Greg, he believed that he can expand the practice of meditation and mindfulness within the broader autism community. So now we are in the entrepreneurship section, and this is the 2-minute video from Kathy Farmer and Maureen Dunn. They are representing Autism Angels Group.
Hi, I'm Kathy Schwally Farmer from the Autism Angels Group, and we're here to talk a little bit about our brand new upcoming newsletter.
Hi, I'm Maureen Dunn of Autism Angels Group. We have 2 big goals. 1, to connect productive capital with social impact startups targeting the autism market. And 2, to demonstrate that neurodiverse innovators and job seekers represent a powerful resource for the world.
For each issue, we will have a startup to highlight. Today, let us share with you our newest portfolio founder, Andrew Hill. He is the co-founder and CEO of Lifted, an educational platform for IEP and more.
With the support of the Autism Angels Group, we're moving full steam ahead, scaling Lifted to help the 1 in 5 students who learn differently achieve success in the classroom and in life.
As we started to ramp up our angel growth, we realized there was a bigger opportunity here than simply pairing founders with capital, which is why we're launching our digital autism innovation resource, a newsletter, a searchable Q&A database, think Quora for Autism and Innovation, and a podcast series to showcase related inventions and entrepreneurs in this space.
Our newsletter has an autistic founder worker corner as well, where we ask people on the spectrum to share experiences, the good, bad, and the ugly. We also have a recommended book summary section where we summarize various ASD literary pieces, and we may be interviewing the author.
The world is changing fast. As such, we will highlight innovative, inclusive models for building 21st century skills and ideas, including scholarships and grant opportunities, along with top training resources, as well as the autistic voices of those who have benefited from them.
We also will be spotlighting employers and nonprofits of the very good proactive work they're doing in the community as a whole.
We'll also explore synergies between university research and groundbreaking innovations that can truly make a significant impact in promoting neurodiversity, along with tips for those exploring entrepreneurship. This will kick off with our upcoming episode titled The Beginner's Guide to Entrepreneurship and Neurodiversity.
And if you and or your company would like to contribute or be highlighted, please go and get in touch with us at info@autismangelsgroup.com. Thank you.
Okay, now is the turn for Andrew Eddy and Shailene Cheng.
Hi, everyone. So I am Charlene, a rising junior at Harvard College from Melbourne, Australia. And over the past few months, I've had the exciting opportunity to be working closely with Andrew Eddy on the Neurodiversity Hub. The Neurodiversity Hub is an initiative through a community of practice to create a co-curricular program to assist neurodivergent thinkers in becoming more work ready and increasing their chances of obtaining a job. Over the past few months, I've been working on curating resources for neurodiverse people interested in entrepreneurship around topics such as developing an entrepreneurial mindset, building support networks, and understanding the entrepreneurial life cycle. Neurodiversity is something very close to my heart, so I'm very excited to have been given the opportunity to put together and moderate a panel of 4 panels of subject matter experts on neurodiversity and entrepreneurship. So thank you to everyone who helped make this possible. So the 4 different panels we had were an academic panel, a neurodiverse accelerator panel, and 2 successful entrepreneur panels. Starting with the academic panel, we had Dr. Johan Wickland, Dr. Tamara Sten, and Dr. Michael Freeman. They were kind enough to share with us their insights on the relationship between neurodiversity, mental health, and entrepreneurship, specifically detailing the advantages and challenges neurodiverse people and their companies may face. They also talk about the implications of their research for academic institutions and companies, specifically how educational institutions have an important role in providing entrepreneurship education for neurodiverse students, as well as self-awareness and vulnerability resistance resources. Lastly, they talk about how companies have a responsibility to rectify their misunderstanding of and accommodate for the thinking patterns and attributes of neurodiverse individuals. In the second panel we hosted, the accelerator panel, we had Johnny Doan from Profound Incubator and Dr. Heidi Ham from Spectrum Fusion join us. They shared with us the importance of having support systems for neurodiverse entrepreneurs like the accelerators and incubators they have developed. They both emphasize that in order for such programs to be as helpful as possible for the neurodiverse entrepreneurs they work with, they must be able to tailor and address the specific needs of the individuals they work with, rather than having a blanket approach. And in addition, they have to foster a culture of psychological safety, because it is absolutely imperative for ensuring that the thinking talents and ideas of the entrepreneurs they work with and able to thrive and shine through. And lastly, we had 2 very special guests, Vanessa Gill and James Murray Parks, 2 very successful neurodiverse entrepreneurs. They both shared with us their unique journeys to running organizations of their own and the ups and downs they faced along the way. Both entrepreneurs said having a supportive and understanding team was crucial to their success. And the biggest advice they have for budding entrepreneurs is to be unapologetic about who they are and what makes them unique. They say that in doing so, it will ensure that the support system that they attract is truly aligned with their interests. So that is all the panels that we ran today. Thank you again to all the panelists who joined us, and thank you to Stanford and Andrew for this opportunity.
Thank you, Shani. It was really nicely done. Next will be intersectionality and neurodiversity. Christy and Isabel, please take over at this point.
Yes. Hi, thank you. So the learning objectives for this session were to understand the term intersectionality as more than the sum of constituent identities, and to identify why the intersection of race, gender, and neurodiversity needs to be considered in clinical work, as well as to understand how intersectionality impacts personal and professional experiences, as well as access to support. We had an amazing lineup of speakers. Renee Brooks, Maria Davis-Pierre, Temple Lovelace, Dr. Temple Lovelace, Jamel Mitchell from Ernst & Young, Morenike Giwa Onaiwu, and Inger Shea. Their thought-provoking presentations would be impossible to sum up in just 5 minutes. In talking to our speakers and panelists during the planning, it was clear that while this conversation is incredibly important, it's the beginning of what needs to be a much larger effort. And I was so pleased to see that intersectionality, race, and gender came up throughout the summit. This session highlighted that there is much work still to do. I will summarize the calls to action, but can no way really capture the rich information and discussion from our speakers. And I would certainly recommend that people view the session on the YouTube recording. So in summary, that reflecting first and acting were key calls to action. Identity exploration starts internally, and it's important when we begin to explore our own identities, we then begin to acknowledge people and differences, and recognizing that our identities are connected to larger systems of oppression. And a few things some of our panelists and speakers said were to put yourself out there, let others learn from you. And that's from Inger Shea Colsey. We can soar and fly high if we work as a team. That's Morenike Giwa Onaiwu. And what happens when great minds don't think alike? Innovation. And that's from Jamel Mitchell from Ernst & Young. You can go to the next slide. Oh, and there was another slide that had, and I will just read it for you. I have it here. There was another slide that had our calls to action, so I will just review those. So the calls to action from this group were to recognize that Black people navigate society in a different manner from white people, and certainly Black neurodiverse people navigate society in a different way than white neurodiverse people. And that it's important to move from inequality to justice, to dismantle the systems that keep people from getting the information and support that they need. And I'd just like to note here that in the diagnostic disparities discussion that happened later in the week, there was great discussion and examples of how mental health systems are structured in ways that can lead to a lack of diagnosis and access to support to many people who are Black or from other different backgrounds and cultures. And then the third call to action was about cultural responsiveness, and that it's important that we all become culturally responsive, from recognizing diversity through self-assessment, and finally to adaptation. Thank you.
So I'm Callie Turk, and I'm going to talk about the diagnostic disparities panel we had that focused more on the K-12 students and identifying needs and strengths at a younger age, and how that differs for those who are people who are of color. So we had 3 excellent panelists. Stephanie Parks is an anthropology PhD candidate at UCLA and the mother of an autistic son. Dr. Rita Obaid teaches at Case Western Reserve, and she researches stigma and bias. And Dr. Sarah Benson has a clinical practice and also works at the Morehouse School of Medicine. they were really inspiring. Some of the key things they shared were that racism is happening and it happens with the best of intentions. A lot of times it is not intentional at all, but it is just baked into the system, and that race and disability are often confused with one another. So the big examples they gave were around cultural language and norms and how those can be misunderstood, and that oftentimes Black language is seen as deviant when it is actually not deviant. It is actually culturally appropriate and contextual. And so they really were encouraging us, especially Stephanie, to be very hyper vigilant about the white clinical gaze that we use when we are looking at children. Dr. Obaid talked about how the bias that we have, this implicit, this unconscious bias that we have, often can lead to both missed, delayed, and confusion in diagnosis. And that a lot of times we are seeing that children of color are actually being diagnosed for their behavior rather than their autism diagnosis. There's a delay in the diagnosis that they get, and a lot of times the first diagnosis they get is around behavior when really they should be getting the autism diagnosis. And it's just a problem in that people who are in clinical settings often are trying to be culturally competent, but we're not being culturally humble in terms of understanding that we can never really understand every aspect of a culture. So we always need to walk in with cultural humility. And similar to what the prior panel said, is that is really necessary to do critical self-reflection. Like, what are my cultural identities? How do they shape my worldview? And really understand that. And she provided an excellent checklist of questions to ask for really that deep self-reflection that's required. So I highly encourage you to go back and look at that part of her presentation and take some time to go through that reflection. Dr. Vinson really pointed out at a more macro level that a lot of times what we call bias is really structural racism, and that's not as easy to fix. So she was encouraging us to think beyond bias into the racism that exists structurally and fix those problems. And she really pointed out the fact that the expertise isn't always with the expert, with the clinician, but in the family and the community. So the clinician really getting to know the family and the community and context that they're in. And they really emphasize that we need to really do something about racial inequities. We need to not just talk about them, we need to get out and start being active, and encouraged us locally to look at our own settings. And if we can count and see that there is a disparity, then we need to adjust and then count again and keep iterating until we are getting it closer to where it needs to be. We also spent some time talking about how do you develop treatments with cultural humility, and they really emphasize that really looking at the best treatment is the one those people will actually, that someone will actually do. So those were all very interesting elements of their presentation. And they had so many great quotes. I won't go through them all, but you can read some of these here. You know, I think just really this sense of action and purpose in helping clinicians understand the cultures of the clients that they see, and really shifting from culturally competent to cultural humility, moving from just mastery of this as a concept to actual accountability.
So now the next section is focused on K through 12 students and college students.
I think we might be, there we go, there we go, thank you. That's the right slide. Marcy, are you gonna be able to do this slide?
Oh, this one is me, Kelly.
This is you, okay, sorry.
No problem. So our panel was a Neurodivergent Reflections panel, what works and a wish list for the K through 12 student experience. We were privileged to host this amazing panel of courageous students who often overcame difficult hardships to become leaders in their communities and to support others. So what worked for them, when the students discussed their favorite teacher or described what got them through a tough situation, it was always finding a teacher who was patient, kind, supportive, flexible, made them feel safe, and allowed them to show their strengths. Schools and teachers need to understand that accommodations aren't an unfair advantage. They're what allow different minds to show you what's truly inside, not hindered by physical limitations. All of the students discussed how important it is to find your people. Some created their own organizations to do this. Some found them in online interest groups. or through their passions, and they emphasize that quality is more important than quantity. Learning to self-advocate is the top recommendations the students had for navigating school. Learning what works for you and what doesn't, and being able to share this with your teachers is a powerful tool. The students often felt they were pressured and cajoled while they were facing real barriers to completing a task. So they suggest supporting the student through understanding and removing barriers. Listen to your neurodiverse student and believe them. Understand they experience the world in a different way. Their wish list for the K-12 experience. The students wish that the understanding of neurodiversity would expand among teachers and parents so that there can be more inclusivity and neurodiverse kids can be accepted and not pathologized. Some students even started their own organizations toward these goals. They hope we can eliminate the stigma and hush-hush culture around neurodiversity as we're trying to do with mental health. They would like to see neurodiverse voices make decisions on neurodiversity issues. And they pointed out that neurodiverse students often have deep passions and strength areas that school doesn't give them space to explore. They hope schools can help students lead with strengths and that parents give them support to explore their passions for as many hours as they would like. Many of the students were not diagnosed until high school or college and wish they had known earlier. It felt like a relief to have an explanation for their struggles and not to feel broken. In particular, they hope that we can get a better understanding of neurodiversity in girls and get them diagnosed at an earlier age. They also discussed 2E or twice exceptional students who appear outwardly achieving but struggle to hold it together and still need to be evaluated. Several students face teasing or bullying, even from adults. Despite schools supposedly having zero tolerance policies, they would like the schools to actually enforce these policies. And it was hard to pick from all the amazing things that the students said, but I really love some of these. Don't assume because I'm alone, I'm lonely, telling us parents not to pressure them so much to socialize, and that if you've met one neurodivergent person, you've met one neurodivergent person. Different strategies help different people, and allow for differences and embrace that humanity is different. And one of the best quotes I thought of the night was, "A kind heart is more important than a high IQ."
Hi, I'm Marcy Schwartz, and I'm going to be talking about the leveraging strengths and opening doors in K-12, how working together makes a difference. And our speakers were Jay Dunlap, who's a head of school. So we had the teacher perspective, and then we had Dr. Louise Kindle, who's a psychologist. And so we had the clinician perspective, and she does a lot of assessments. And so we really talked about how important it is around practical strategies to maximize the opportunities for neurodiverse students to follow their strengths and get into a flow of their learning within their strengths, and what a huge difference that can make for the students and their and how they respond to being a student in school. And some of these things, it was interesting to be part of these three panels because there was overlap, even though in so many ways they're so different. But spending as much time listening as talking was an important point made, and it does reflect what some of the students were saying. So here we have the teacher and a teacher and a psychologist really encouraging us that, and we're hearing the same message from the students. So I think it's also important for us to figure out ways that we can take this message beyond what the clinician or the teacher, and really making it more of a community focus. And part of that is creating opportunities to design assignments that even those who are not neurodiverse, they will enjoy, and it'll be learning opportunities for all. And that community focus of changing our way of teaching and viewing things that encompasses all is such an important message, I think, of this whole conference, but it came out a lot in this piece as well. Scaffolding up and slowly removing to build stress tolerance is such an important part of working with students who learn a little differently to make sure that they can build that confidence. Confidence is a big a piece of something we all need to be mindful of when we're working with our students, and crafting a personal learning plan, and really keeping in mind the social emotional goals, and kind of like what Yael was just saying about, you know, the kind heart versus the IQ, and really looking at the whole person. Partnerships is so important. Again, it goes with the theme of community and creating a safe space for children to communicate, which was a very similar theme that came up with the student panel. The words are different that the students are going to say versus this panel, but the message, I think, is there and it's consistent. Supporting the entire family, I think, is a part, even if we're talking about the psychologist and the teacher, really the family is critical in all of this, and the community as well. Student advocacy, again, a similar theme. Helping students create language for self-advocacy, that has to happen at school, but also in other settings, in order for the student to feel really confident in moving out of the home and into the college or work or whatever their next steps are going to be. Really liked the idea of telling the story of who they are for students, and to find what they're good at and hold on to that. And when students are able to find out who they are and be able to tell their own story, it makes it easier for them to create a path towards their future. And part of all of this is building self-awareness and coping skills to allow them the tools for this process. So it was a really informative session, and really excited to be a part of it. Can look at the quotes next. Yeah, so there was a lot that came out of it. Teenagers want to feel loved and cared about and accepted. And so really opening up a dialogue of being heard, I think, again, is that common theme. And really encouraging students, you know, finding something every day where a student can shine, I think, is so critical, as I mentioned earlier, building self-confidence of students. So there was a lot that went on, and if you're interested, you can go back and listen to it on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, so the college spectrum. The learning objectives for the college spectrum were to understand the university perspective, the systems, and how they see students coming in and what happens, to understand the impact of remote learning on learning academics and connection, relationships, and community building, and to understand how neurodiverse adolescents successfully transfer to college and what supports they benefit from, as well as to understand the perspective of neurodiverse college students and what supports they felt they benefited from. We had an amazing lineup of speakers and presentations that was followed by a panel discussion. Our speakers were Scott Fitzwater from Mansfield Hall, Dr. Lisa Medoff from Stanford, Hari Srinivasan, a UC Berkeley student, and Isabel Morris from our Stanford Neurodiversity Project. And on the panel, they were joined by Cole Hazarjian, who's a graduate of Berkeley, and Sarah Shisla, who is a graduate of Stanford University. If we can go to the slides.
Did you mention Hari? I think we missed
I said, yeah, Hari. No, I don't think I skipped him. Hari, but if I did, then let me say his name again. Hari Srinivasan, and he can go twice because he was both a speaker and on the panel.
Thank you.
So the takeaways from Scott and Lisa generally break down into two categories that were it was so rich in information, but the two general categories for takeaways were about preparing for college and then perspectives from a professor in order to be successful at college. And so in terms of preparing for college, the takeaways were to really understand your learning profile, to orient yourself to your differences and the differences of different learning, and to begin to practice self-advocacy to increase mastery of organizational skills and to increase self-reliance and self-care. And this is just such a high-level overview. We had so many wonderful details, but in terms of from a professor perspective, what can set you up for success? Connect with the Office of Accessible Education or your Disability Resource Center. Connect with professors before classes start. So don't wait until the classes start. Talk to your professors early. Go to professors as soon as possible during the quarter and once classes do start. And find a partner, find other students or other people in class or a mentor, or it can be a wide variety of people, but find a partner. And ask for help. Ask for accommodations, ask for alternatives, and generally professors will be open to many things if you can just ask them for help and alternatives. If we go to the next slide. So it's much harder to categorize the takeaways from the students. They had just so many thoughts and areas for sort of further action or takeaways. They had thoughts and takeaways about belonging, accommodations, self-acceptance, embracing strengths, self-advocacy, and needs for improving the transition from college to employment. So a few things that they said were to look at neurodiverse accommodation through the lens of equity and access. That was from Hari. This is also from Hari. Accommodations for neurodiversity is the conversation of our generation. Each person is unique in their needs, and he also brought up the point that that we will going forward need to look at understanding conflicting accommodations if two people have conflicting accommodations, and looking at how we manage that. Hari and actually many of the other panelists as well, but Hari in particular brought up the importance of belonging and just how key that is to the college experience. We heard about giving up the concept of low functioning and high functioning, that those aren't really useful ways of thinking of functioning and of the individual's experience, and that low functioning and high functioning can exist within the same person. Learn to work with the brain you have and with your brain. Talk to people and find supportive people, professors, friends, and family. Everyone has different strengths and challenges. If you can be a part of the conversation, your professors can learn from you. You're entitled to accommodations, so recognizing, and this was going from also college and the transition into work, recognizing what you're entitled to. Knowing yourself and knowing what works for you. Practicing self-advocacy in college, you'll need it in the workforce. Career networking can be nerve-wracking and painful, but it is important, as are internships, particularly in moving forward. And I think Cole really made a lot of points about comfort and understanding environments and having some exposure to environments, and how that made a big difference in transitions for him. So having visited a school for a long time made a big difference in being comfortable going there. Having internships at a company made a big difference in making the transition to work. Mentorship is needed in the neurodiverse community, particularly to bridge the gap from college to work. That was another point that Cole made, that that's really lacking in the neurodiverse community. And failure is part of the process. Yes.
Thank you, Christy. So the last presentation that we're trying to cover, we're doing quite well. We're going to do 1 hour. Indeed, we can finish in 1 hour. So Dr. Sarah Rankin from Imperial College talked about neurodiversity in science, technology, engineering, and medicine, education, and careers. She is a professor in regenerative pharmacology, but she has been very active in neurodiversity work in Imperial College. And to sum up some of the lived experiences, of neurodiverse scientists and medical students has inspired Dr. Rankin to lead the project, making STEM education at Imperial more accessible for students with specific learning differences. And she also talked about developing STEM outreach workshops for young neurodiverse people and setting up a staff student neurodiversity network across a number of different institutions. So with this, we have ended our session here for the summary of our 5-day conference. What we are going to be doing now is to do some Q&A. So perhaps, Christy, would you like to start?
Sure. So we have primarily feedback, but we do have a couple, it looks like so far one question. We'll see if we get more. And this question is actually about the Q&A. There is such good information contained in the Q&A section of this summit. I'm wondering if the Q&As will be available to access when the summit has ended. No.
That's a good question. It's rather difficult to do that. I think for some sessions we are able to capture the questions, and depending on the speakers, some speakers have offered to answer the questions offline because we actually have surpassed 3,100 registrants. There are just too many questions. So I don't think it's possible to answer every single one of them. But if the speakers are able to, please follow up with the speakers.
Okay. And then just in terms of feedback, I'll just read through some of what we're hearing. That we're having suggestions that we have autistic and neurodivergent adults who are part of the planning and vetting for the conference, and that we have more autistic presenters, and that they would love to see more non-speaking autistic people's talks. And I will just say, because I agree, the non-speaking autistic person's talk was by far my favorite. And we've also got a suggestion for adding captions throughout the entire conference. So I don't know, I'll pause, Lawrence, if you want to sort of address any of that, or else I can just continue on.
Definitely, I'm completely appalled by Hari's comments, so thoughtful and so inspiring. And I think there is more that we need to do. The challenge is to find people like Hari that are able to articulate his thoughts in such an effective way. So definitely let us know if you know of anybody that's in that position. We'll be happy to figure out how to include more non-speaking or minimally speaking individuals on the spectrum. The other thing is including people on the spectrum to be in the organizing committee, and we have already. And that definitely it is our goal to incorporate more and more voices from the neurodiverse community.
Okay, and then we had some positive feedback. This person appreciated Dr. Fung and other moderators asking questions to the speakers panelists exactly how they were phrased. And this person definitely felt that autistic voices were heard at the summit, even if they didn't always agree with the panelist. I will just continue on. We've got feedback that the summit was very informative and educating and inspirational. felt that there was a wonderful array of experienced speakers, many of them neurodiverse themselves with helped this person as a parent to dream big for their child. And then thank you, Dr. Fung, for organizing this remarkable summit, and many thanks to the wonderful speakers and all those individuals who have worked behind the scenes to make this possible. Appreciate having the sessions available on YouTube. Will they be accessible indefinitely?
We have put it on the website. There's no plan to take it out. So if anything, it will only be moved around. So it should be accessible. It may not be at the same location for practical reasons. But let us know if you have trouble finding it.
Okay, and this is, I believe, from Michelle Ciampi. I put my answers in my LinkedIn profile. Marcel, is this from you? I'm sorry that I've gotten disconnected from the name.
I think that says Jan or someone else's name.
Jan?
Mine are tagged, from my session, mine are tagged on LinkedIn under the hashtag Neurominority and Neurodiversity.
Okay.
But I didn't put that in there. I think it was Jan.
Was that Jan? Okay. The way I'm looking at the questions, it's not connected to a name. So, okay. So I think then that.
Yeah, it says Jan Johnson Tyler.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So Jan's are on her LinkedIn profile. So you can, if you're looking for answers from that session, and I had the pleasure of Jan's session. It was incredibly informative. So, and there were lots of great questions. So that would be, if you want more information, I think that would be a great place to go. So another person comments, it seemed to me the virtual conference concept allowed the summit to reach a very broad group. Yes, upwards of 3,100 people. Might we consider this format going forward?
It's very likely because we got really good speakers from England, from Australia. It's going to be almost impossible for us to afford it if we are going to do it live, and to find a place to be able to hold 3,000 people. That's going to be really expensive. And in this conference, we basically absorb the cost, and no organization has sponsored our group, and Stanford University is not also sponsoring our group. So we're basically just doing it on our own. So if we are going to need to continue with this conference in this format with a lot of very good speakers, I think the only way is to continue with the online format. And the in-person format, if anything, it will be very small, because it that like with so many people, I think is a better thing to be accessible for more people than benefiting only few people.
Okay. We have a comment that I'd like more info on the autistic experience in older age groups. Any thoughts on that, Lawrence, or shall I continue?
Well, that's a very much not studied. There are very few people on the surface of the earth that focus on adults that are elderly. There is some work that is actually starting in that area. So I think we'll put it down and try to really find the right people. And there are some. So maybe next year we should be considering this. Thank you for the suggestion.
And I don't know if this is related to older adults, but I see that Marcel Ciampi has just mentioned that she's got hundreds of free resources related to autism and the workplace at My Spectrum Suite. That's SUITE.com. So I'm not sure, Marcel, if you have any related to older adults, but that is a place to go for additional resources.
Definitely have resources for those that identify as female or non-binary. I have a lot of the resources there for those that are older, and I have a network of older adults. Most of the people that I network with are between 45 and 60, 65 on my Facebook page, Samantha Craft. And there's about 3,000 of us there.
Wow.
Okay, that's great. So there are some resources right there. Okay, and then again, it's autistic adults can find other autistic adults. We have a community. Let's see.
Can I speak?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So about elders, as I'm approaching my 70th year, I'm obviously very interested in the issue of elders and questions of elders and poverty, elders and not late diagnosis. And I'm planning to write on my blog about this issue shortly.
Thank you, Julie. That will stay tuned. We'll keep an eye on Julie's blog.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a question about where should people email additional suggestions for next year?
So just send email to Stanford Neurodiversity Project at stanford.edu and we'll get them.
Could future events feature neurodiverse individuals who are currently having trouble finding work?
That's a good question. I think what we have been thinking about along the way is we want to provide answers for people. And a lot of people that are on the spectrum that were chosen to talk, they did not have a very linear path. A lot of them have a tortuous, atypical path. So they don't really it's not like they don't have any obstacles. So basically they share how they overcome the obstacles, and that's more productive than reporting failures only, because without solutions, it's not helping anybody. So that's our position.
Okay. This is the first time I've been amongst a group of people where I felt like I relate to just about everything that's been shared. Everything resonated with me. My hope is to get a specific diagnosis for myself, find a local community to join, and to help my personal networks understand neurodiversity. Thank you. That's nice.
Thank you.
Could you have a similar event for teenagers on the spectrum? Your summit event is fabulous.
So we actually have something that is for K through 12 age. So Marcy, Yael, and Callie have 3 sessions that are really focused on K through 12 students. Definitely, that's not the majority of it. The total is about maybe 10% of the material. So we do have a new network, NIA, that is going to start. And the first meeting is going to be, the first monthly meeting is going to be on November 19th. So, so that's going to be probably the beginning of this avenue. We had basically the NIA is going to be similar to the special interest group that we had, that we started 3 years ago. So the special interest group that we built 3 years ago now has really blossomed to include so many different programs. So I can only be hopeful that once we start the NEAR network, we are going to be more able to have more ideas and more bandwidth and more contributors that can make it happen. But we don't have immediate plans to have a conference for the high schoolers right now.
Okay, can you share how you did the live captioning? I'd like to introduce that feature to Zooms I'm a part of.
So the live captioning is actually part of PowerPoint. When you're looking at the Zoom closed caption, that function actually is a manual function. So someone actually needs to do the closed captioning, or they have to get a third party to get that closed captioning working. So basically, all you need to do is to get the PowerPoint at the right, probably the most recent version, and then you're going to get that when you're showing your slides on Zoom.
Dr. Mayo was amazing, so inspirational. Great start to a great webinar. Thank you all for the hard work putting it together. Okay, let's see. Trying to get more small businesses that hire neurodiverse people. Can Stanford help to get a webinar on the nuts and bolts and advantages of starting a small business that hires neurodiverse employees?
I think we already did one in this conference. So probably this attendee will be benefiting from, or this person will be able to find that particular section, that particular session from our, I think, Monday meeting. So so just find the right session on the Monday YouTube. And then if that's not adequate, send an email to us.
Okay, thank you. It is an eye-opening conference and you actually had formed a community here. Will you keep this being an ongoing dialogue or any future cooperation within this community? I am a mother of a 17-year-old boy with autism spectrum and very glad to see that there are actually so many people who do care about neurodivergence.
So what I would recommend people that are interested in continuing with the conversation to join the special interest group for neurodiversity. So if you go to our website now, basically all you need to do is to Google Stanford Neurodiversity Project. And then you can go to the page, actually the menu, who we are. And then there's an item called Special Interest Group for Neurodiversity. Once you're there, you can sign up to be part of the special interest group. And then in future monthly meetings, we're going to invite you.
Okay, thank you so much for a wonderful summit. Are any doctors on the spectrum? It would be great to have more role models across various fields.
Yes, agreed.
And then I think this comment is back to our discussion of older adults who are on the spectrum or neurodiverse. And this is, there are lots of us who are adults or even retirement age, like me, in the Mensa Asperger Special Interest Group. So that sounds like another another place to look.
If there are resources like that, we are happy to put all those resources together and maybe at a location on our website, so people can benefit. So please do send us an email if you do have these resources.
Right. I would like a session on how to heal the existential wounds many of us have suffered from years of bullying.
It is a really important area that I think it is definitely under addressed and understudied, but we really acknowledge that that's an important area. So I think next year, in addition to what we have been trying to focus on, the strength-based model, we would have something that is related to PTSD. All right, yeah.
All right. And where can one express interest in being a presenter or panelist next time?
So it's going to be probably a year from now. And although we are saying that it's a year from now, we probably will start thinking about the format, the next few days. The organizing committee, as well as some others, will have a meeting with us, and we'll reflect on our conference, and we want to know what's working, what's not working, what seems to be good to go forward next year. So probably in a few months' time, we're going to be starting to decide on speakers and whether or not we are going to be like requesting maybe people to apply for the opportunity to become speakers, that kind of thing. So in this year, basically the speakers have been chosen primarily. They are handpicked because those are the speakers that we know, or those are the speakers that that are in our network. So as we are growing our network, I think we are going to be able to have more speakers that are kind of outside our immediate network.
And I'm also seeing a comment from Marcel Champion again, that it looks like she knows a doctor on the spectrum who's on their recruitment team. So maybe, I know that was an interest expressed in one of the comments earlier, so maybe that's something that it looks like there are people out there as we look to expand kind of who and the representatives of people in different fields.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks to me like this is the last one, and I apologize if I missed any. I think I've caught them all, but this one says, I would like to attend Stanford, but we need to work on the pipeline because there are no fee waivers targeted at neurominorities, at least at the business college. Can we work on expanding that? With a 15% employment rate, we can't afford to pay for application fees.
Well, that's something that I really don't know what to say, because that's completely out of my understanding exactly how application fees can be waived. So I think what I would suggest is that you can write a letter to the admissions office and ask if this is if it is possible to waive the application fee or have a reduced application fee, and provide your justification. But I can't really say much more than that.
Okay. And
So we are all set, right?
We are all set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much. The next thing that we are going to do is to try to gather. We still have like 123 people, so potentially we may be able to do like a few pictures. So the first picture is going to be the moderators. So whoever that have served the role of moderator will go first. So show your screen, activate your video first, and then after that we'll include speakers and moderators, and then at that step we will actually need some work because some people are going to be needed to be promoted from attendee to panelist. So work with us because this is manual.
And Dr. Fung, we have to include LaDawn, our back end. She's been here the entire conference and been doing tech, and I am attributing much of how smoothly this went. So I don't know which group you want her in, but well, I feel like
obviously in the first group. So if anything, the three people that I really need to thank profusely are Christy Mata, Ladan Mohammed, and Mark Gaviton. We are having this conference these 5 days because they are working. If they are not, there's no conference. So thank you, Christy, Mark, and Ladan. So let's see, we will do a gallery view, and Judy, you'll be the next one because you're not moderator. Let's see. Okay. We have a little bit of a lag here, so let me
Are you going to count us down so we know when we should be looking our best?
Patrick, you're not moderator, so you will be next. So can you inactivate? So anyone else? Moderators here?
I'm looking through the attendees, making sure we're not missing anyone.
How about Charlene?
Yeah, she's here.
She had another appointment, so she wasn't able to stay on.
Okay. So let's see, Kelly, Yael, Marcy, you're here. We are here. So let's make sure that we can raise hand. I just activated raise hand. So if you are an attendee that you are actually a moderator, please raise your hand so we can promote you. Okay, so I got, oh, well, Wes, you're not a moderator, but I'll promote you anyways because you'll be on the next picture. Okay, anybody else who are moderators? Okay, so okay, bear with me, okay? Okay, I'm going to count to 3. Look at the camera, smile. Okay. So I'm going to let you, let me see if I can show you. So I think we're going to take one more. Okay, look at the camera. Smile. Okay. A few seconds. Wes, please inactivate your camera for now. Okay, let's do it once more because Wes is not supposed to be on the moderator picture. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Just a few more seconds. Okay, so is this acceptable for moderators?
Right.
All right, we're happy. Okay, now speakers, please activate your video, start video.
Lawrence, is this speakers and moderators or just speakers?
Oh, speakers and moderators. So we're going to grow the list. And after that, we'll invite all the attendees. We'll just promote all people to panelists.
I'm still, I can't start my video.
Okay, we will help you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay. So activate video, everyone. Rebecca, Larry. Okay, attendees, any attendees that are supposed to be speakers that need to be promoted. Raise your hand. Use the raise hand function. Hacky, are you there? Let me see. Hacky, let me promote. Hacky, you're here? Okay. I saw a hand.
Can you mute that? Gretchen, can you mute that?
Thank you, Hacky, for joining. Any more speakers on the attendee list that I need to promote? Raise your hand if possible. Right. Let's see. I think Magnus, you need to be back. Yes. All right. Are we ready? So I'm going to count to 3 and then try to smile for a good like 5 seconds. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
It's a motley crew.
Magnus, I like the hat.
I wasn't sure. I'll bring it back.
That's cool.
I'm trying to manifest a warm tropical place into the world. Some kind of post-COVID destination.
Still pretty warm here, so I'd like to manifest a little chilliness.
It's only 69
threatening us with a good
Carolina
time?
right now. It's freezing.
Let's see.
Where are you at, Magnus?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Got it.
What are you going to do about all the English people who are still asleep, I think?
We'll draw stick figures.
Lawrence, should we do a goofy picture?
I think we need to take a couple more because I'll let you take a look at this. Okay. So apparently Judy is behind Zoom. So let me
Way behind you.
Yeah, so let me stop my video and then that will kind of change people's positions. And then we'll see.
Hi, Hacky.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
Hi, Larry.
Yep.
Andrew, how are you?
Great.
Good.
This
Look at that. I have Hacky and Andrew right next to one another. Whoa.
Hey, Marcel.
Hi.
Sí, no, que va a ser el día de Thanksgiving, sí. Pero yo pensé que tú dices al mediodía. No.
I'm trying to figure out how to move
No, sí, lo voy a hacer.
Judy so that you are not behind the Zoom. So we have a couple of people inactivate your video, or we'll all inactivate our video and then pop back in.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Stop video on the left lower corner and then start video again.
I can, on my side, I can drag and drop people all around.
Yeah, but
Oh, you can too.
But the Zoom is picking its own people in this place. So there's
May I ask who's calling?
It's the pizza guy.
Oh God, we're supposed to pick up the food. Okay, I'll come get it. I'm in the middle of a conference. As soon as I'm done, I'll come and get it.
Okay.
83 people say hi.
And for the attendance,
hi.
There are not too many of you. We're going to be able to include you after we take this picture, or take maybe 1 or 2 pictures. This is looking a little bit better. At least Judy is not behind the Zoom.
Obviously, it's beauty before age on this collection.
Let's see.
Oh, then you're in both.
Choice.
Okay. Okay, let me do a little trick here.
Nada, igual. No requería que por poco la van a votar a ella, Regina. David vino a verla. Bueno, y el doctor que se le murió el hijo. Ajá. No, pero el abogado que vino a ver al director ahora. Le dijo que el tache que era el director fue a decirle al.
Sorry about that.
Whoa, there's two Dr. Fungs. Which one is the imposter?
I'm trying to move people around a little bit because now
Is this the Humvee or the Fungvee?
Okay. So
no Iron Man fans.
Excuse you. I'm an Iron Man fan.
Okay, now I'll stop video and then see.
Hot Vengers, assemble.
Okay, just a few more seconds. Then we can shuffle people a little bit.
He's interviewed one witness.
I'll tell you what, I'll take the picture and I'll develop the film while you're, while you're figuring this out.
Okay. Yeah, you take the picture. Your picture will look different from the Zoom one. The Judy is still behind the word Zoom, no matter what I do. So let's look at the. So I count to 3, and then we're going to just look at the camera for 5 seconds, and smile at the camera. 1, 2, and 3.
Very good, Magnus. That's good.
Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, now we have to bring in attendees. So any attendees that are interested and be in the picture, yes, raise your hand. So the co-hosts, please help me with bringing them into panelists if you can.
Lawrence, I have to run because I forgot I was supposed to pick up food.
Okay. That's important too. Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate everything you did. It was amazing work.
Thank you. It's a group effort.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Espérate, mami, ¿qué quieres? Voy. No, it's fine.
Okay, anyone else? I think I promoted everyone that wants to be promoted. Let's see.
Different hat.
Different hat. Magnus got a lot of hats.
Any other attendees?
I'm a man of many hats.
And new accessories too.
I'm doing a retro, the way that we used to do speakers in the good old days, sort of looking thoughtful and resting our heavy heads on our hands. Now we're all grinning like.
Magnus, Judith Singer is going to invent a new word for you, hatversity.
So it's going to be 2 pictures, okay? Because we cannot fit in. Okay, so let's do one at a time. So can everyone see they are on picture 1 or picture 2? Can you all see?
Yeah, let's see.
So in any case, the best bet is just smile anyways when we group 1 or group 2, because the people may shift around. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, now we go to group 2. All right, don't walk away.
Don't walk away, Renee.
Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. Okay.
Jackie, you had noticed only you and I would sing "Walk Away, Renee."
Yeah.
This is the first time all day my cat has walked into my lap and waved her tail in my face.
Hello, cat. What's the cat's name?
Her name is Pepper.
Hi, Pepper.
She cares not. She cares
Bye,
not.
Dr. Fung. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cat's in the house.
Thank you, Dr. Fung.
Have fun.
Thank you, Dr.
Thanks,
Fung.
Dr. Fung.
We'll give Dr. Fung a standing ovation here.
Well done.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Incredible effort. Unbelievably good.
Yes, thank you.
Happy
The mom
flipping.
Very
was
impressive.
being around for 5 full days.
Thank you.
How can we all just keep
So-
going and have a bit of a party now? I want to have a party.
Me too.
Now the real fun can begin.
Hey, Arthur.
You can organise
For
it.
me, between Lawrence and Judy, career goals. Yay!
We meeting Monday, Lawrence?
Yes, we're meeting Monday. I should have sent you the.
You did. Yeah, I wanted
invite.
to make sure we still were.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So let me show you the photos.
Yeah.
Lawrence, are you planning to sleep between now and then? Basically.
Of course. I'll sleep a lot more the next 2 days.
Don't forget about your own mental health.
Self-care, Lawrence.
I will.
Callie, I have to tell you, I really like your face.
Me?
Yeah, you have such a sweet face.
You've made not just my day, but my week. I mean, I live with 3 teenagers, so I don't hear such nice things. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll be glowing the rest of the night now because you said that.
So here's another picture
Of our faces.
with some of our attendees.
That's a good one.
Disappeared. There he is.
Okay. Anyway,
Looks good.
I will. If that's okay, I'll post the pictures.
Sure.
To the website, so so it may be easy for you to access.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So finally, at 6:19, where the meeting is adjourned.
You need a
Bye,
gavel.
everybody.
Need a
Thank you.
gavel, Lawrence.
No, we need Mr. Rogers.
Thank you so much, all. It's a real strong community.
I look at the tapes and stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Fung. Thank you for listening to us autistic voices and taking into consideration what we said. It was really appreciated.
This is what we do.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
It's such a good
Turn us off now.
feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling
Oh, sorry.
growing inside.
Sloth
And
of
when you
Tim Toy.
wake up ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new. And I'll have more ideas for you. And you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. Goodbye, neighbors.
Marcel, is that Sloth a STEM toy?
That was a STEM toy. Yeah.
Emotional support animal.
Marcel.
All right. Got it.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye, Judy.
Bye.
Bye.
Turn it off, flick it off.
Well, I'll see you on Monday, Arthur.
What happened to it?
All right. I'm going to end the meeting by pressing the red button. Are you ready?
Press it.
1, 2, 3. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you around.